Good evening. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while. I am Godless Reggie, and this is Faith, Lies, and Confusion. So, this week's episode is titled The Goddess Sedna. So, this is the title that I kind of came up with on the fly, but it's something that's interesting to me. And the reason why it's interesting to me is because most gods that I research are never woman, it's always a man. It's always a man figure. So, as I promised a few weeks ago, I was going to focus a lot of my time on Native religions or Native American religions, or things like that from the Americas, North America, South America. So this is one in particular. So I really don't know a whole lot about this particular goddess. So I'm learning as we go. Thank y'all for stopping by. Everybody that's here so far, let's get right to it. Give me a moment. So I'm gonna read a little bit so I can learn as well. I'm gonna start from Wikipedia and what it has to say. Okay. So Sedna, previously Senna, the goddess of the sea and marine animals in the Inuit religion, also known as the mother of the sea or the mistress of the sea. The story of Sedna, which is a creation myth, describes how she came to rule over Atavun, the Inuit, eventually of the underworld. In scriptures, Sedna is often depicted with the head of the upper body of a woman and the tail of a marine mammal, similar to a mermaid. Other names, Sedna is also known as Arnakusak. I'm not going to try to pronounce the next one, or another name that starts with A in parts of Greenland. She is called Sasuma Arna, Mother of the Deep, in West Green Atlantic or Neverick Table Intuit or Nalujuk. The Kavaluk region and Nunavut, Canada. She is sometimes known by other names by different Intuit groups, such as another name which is translated to Big Bad Woman of the Copper Inuit from the Coronation Gulf area, or Takakapsuluk, or another name that's similar to that. She was referred to as Old Woman who lived in the sea. So let's get to the myth. More than one version of the Sedna legend exists. Some legends have her as the daughter of a goddess named Asaraktu something, while others only mention her father. In one legend, Segna is a giant, the daughter of the creator god Anguit, with a great hunger that causes her to attack her parents. Angered, Anguta takes her out to the sea and throws her over the side of his kayak. As she clings to the side, he chops off her fingers and she sinks to the underworld, becoming the ruler of the monsters of the deep. Her huge fingers become the rigid seals, walruses, and whales hunted by the Inuit. Okay, that's interesting. So, um, I like where it's going because most times when you dig into religions, it's always predicated off of things that they have. I spoke on this before. I learned that the Arawak, you know, the Taino people from the Caribbean, as we would call it today, a lot of their gods and things like that are predicated off of hurricanes and things that are natural. So I like, seeing people's religion when it relates to something that actually is beneficial to them. Now, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that, okay, well, that's true. Okay, her limbs became walruses and shit, because it is a myth, but it's just interesting to me to learn what other people believe. I've heard crazier stories, even in Abrahamic religion, so I'm not here to judge, how ridiculous it may sound. But when I was a believer of another religion, I would have probably said, that sounds crazy. But now, from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem so. So I'll stop right there for a little bit with that, and I'll go to video. Let's see what YouTube says about it. Hopefully, we can get a first-hand account from a person who grew up in the region or knows more about it than I do. And thank everybody for stopping by. I see everybody that's here.
Important deity from Inuit mythology, Sedna, the goddess of the sea and marine animals. Sedna was also known as Nuliayuk in the Northwest Territories of Canada. She was known as the Mother of the Sea and had a very important role in Inuit culture. The reason was the dominion over her creatures. She was said to be able to control the availability of seals, walruses, fishes, whales, and all the other sea animals. A lot of those were essential for Inuit hunters. They hunted and fished these creatures for their own survival. She were able to provide his family with plenty of food and furs for all of them. Sidna enjoyed the comfort of her home so much that she refused to marry anyone. Similar in men much they lost parents and missionary. She refused to follow the tradition and stayed with them. One day, a particular Inuk man came to visit her and proposed to marry her. He promised Sedna to provide her with everything that she needs: food, furs for clothes and blankets, and a home. For the first time, Sedna agreed to marry men, and when they became man and wife, the Inuk brought her to his island. Once there, men revealed that he was in fact a mythical bird creature disguised as a man. He killed the bird, brought his daughter back, and when Sedna became worse, she realized that he was a terrible hunter and could only bring fish back to her, which they returned to her again. When he arrived there and saw the unhappy state in which Sedna he killed the bird, brought his daughter back, and fearing that his kayak would sink, the father decided to throw his daughter in the sea. By doing so, to make the birds stop flapping their wings and held tight to the kayak. Once again, afraid his daughter would make him tip over, the father cut off the young girl's fingers and she sank to the the bottom of the sea. According to each joint eventually beaters. Had to transform himself into a fish and go to the bottom of the sea to. When Sedna was pleased, she allowed her sea creatures to make themselves available to Inuit hunters. However, certain conditions had to be respected. Sacrifice the animals in the name of the god. If you do it, sinful rain crash. In the end, Sedna was one of the most worshipped deity among the Inuit people of different polar regions. She provided her an
Okay. I was feeling it until, it got to the part where I was blaming her for everything. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, whenever I start studying religions, I see that as a common thing. So I really don't like that. Um, but other than that, it's interesting to learn it. But I hate when somebody has to take the blame for things like, oh well, this didn't happen, blah blah blah. It's her fault. It sounds like another myth that I'm aware of. There's a goddess that's called Mami Wata. It's from people from West Africa, and they have the same type of mind state. There's different variations of that myth, but one of the more common ones is whenever something doesn't go your way as a man, oh, it's mommy water. Or like if it's a woman that comes into your life and then something just so happens bad to happen, oh, she's a mommy water. You know what I'm saying? It's always like a sign of bad luck. I don't like that part of any myths or any religion. But hey, who am I to judge? So I'll do a little bit more reading from where I was at. Hold that thought. Give me a second. Okay, so I'll start from where it starts talking about the myth again. Give me 1 second. So, more than one version of Sedna legend exists. Some legends have her as the daughter of a goddess named Issa. I'm not going to try to stumble through that, while others only mention her father. In one legend, Sedna is a giant, as I mentioned before, the daughter of the creator god, Anguta, with a great hunger that causes her to attack her parents. Angered, Anguta takes her out to sea and throws her over the side of his kayak, as the video said. As she clings to the side, he chops off her fingers and she sinks to the underworld, becoming the ruler of the monsters of the deep. Her huge fingers become the rigid seals, walruses, and whales hunted by Intuit. In another version of the legend, she is dissatisfied with men found for her by her father, so she marries a dog. Her father is so angry, excuse me, at this that he throws her into the sea. And when she tries to climb back into the boat, he cuts off her fingers. Her fingers become the first seals, and she becomes a mighty sea goddess. When she is angered, the Anga Kook, the shaman, travels to wash and comb her hair for her, after which she is placated and releases the animals to the hunters. In other versions, she is unable to comb her hair because she lacks fingers, so a shaman must brush it for her. In the Silic region, excuse me, the story states that Nulia Yuk was a distressed orphan. One day, the people tried to get rid of her by attempting to drown her by chopping off her fingertips, which transformed into seals and walruses. Eventually, Nulia Nulia Yuk, excuse me, marries a scorpion and lives in the sea, controlling all sea mammals. Other versions of the legend depict Sedna as a beautiful maiden who rejects marriage proposals from the hunters of her village. When an unknown hunter appears, Sedna's father agrees to give her to him as a wife in return for fish. Sedna's father gives Sedna a sleeping potion and gives her to the hunter, who takes her to a large nest on a cliff, revealing his true form, a great bird spirit, variously described as a raven, a fulmar, or a kuksak. She awakes surrounded by birds. Her father attempts to rescue her, but the bird spirit becomes angry, causing a great storm. In desperation, Sedna's father throws her into the raging sea, attempting to climb to the kayak. Her hands freeze and her fingers fall off, becoming the creatures of the sea. She falls to the bottom of the sea and grows a fishtail. Sedna is kidnapped or deceived by different birds, creatures, and yet another version. Her father then leaves in his kayak to rescue her from the floating ice island where she is imprisoned while the bird creature is away. The creature, enraged by her disappearance, calls to a spirit of the sea to help her. The sea spirit locates the kayak with the two humans aboard and creates huge waves to kill them. Her father throws Sedna overboard in the hope that this will appease the angry god. Sedna clings to the kayak, but her father grabs a little axe and chops off three of her fingers off before striking her in the head. The three fingers each become a different species of seal. The stroke of her hand sends Sedna to the ocean floor where she resides, commanding animals of the sea. Okay. So I'm gonna stop right there. Shit, every last verse of the story is just like her father is just like this fucked up person. She don't know who she wants. She's not satisfied, but it's all revolves around her fingers getting cut off by her dad, that becoming the goddamn seals and walruses, her sinking to the bottom of the ocean, and then everything just going bad from there. Um, it's no different than different myths I've heard. I've heard other myths with different variations, no different than the Yahweh story. The Yahweh story has a couple different twists and turns to it, quite a few. So this doesn't surprise me, not even a bit. But I'll let another video play. Take a pause. I'll have to keep reading this. Give me one and let the video play. This is a short video, by the way.
Sprung from a tale of sacrifice and transformation, Sedna is a prominent goddess in Inuit mythology, native to the indigenous cultures of the North American Arctic regions. She is widely known as the goddess of the sea and marine life, fulfilling a vital place in Sedna dwelled at the bottom of the ocean in a lavish underwater kingdom. The goddess' influence stretched beyond the communities relied on benevolence for their as they had hunters asked for her fate to secure fish and safe journeys before expeditions. About the relationship between humans and the natural world, stressing the need for respect and
Sorry about that. I know that probably was skipping, but it was a short video. It just said basically the same shit that the other video said, just a very short version of it. But what's up to you? How you doing? PE 2632. He started it with me. All right. So I'm gonna read from a different source. I'm gonna go to Chat GPT. Give me one moment. Okay, so this is according to Chat GPT. So who is Sedna? Sedna is the intuitive goddess of the sea and marine animals. She rules over seals, whales, walruses, and fish. Animals essential for survival in Arctic life. Hunters depend on her goodwill for their food. The origin of the story, the common version, because there are several different, as I've mentioned a couple times here. Sedna was a young woman who refused all suitors. Her father eventually married her off, often to a man who turned out to be a bird spirit or a deceptive being. When Sedna tried to escape, her father took her onto a kayak during a storm. To save himself, he threw Sedna into the sea. As she clung to that kayak, he cut off her fingers again. He severed her severed fingers became seals, whales, and other sea animals. Sedna sank to the bottom of the ocean and became its ruler. The rule and meaning. Sedna controls whether animals are available to hunters or not. When humans break taboos or show disrespect, her hair becomes tangled and animals disappear. Shamans must journey to her underwater realm to comb her hair, calming her and restoring balance. Symbolism. Sedna represents the power and danger of nature, the consequences of betrayal and broken relationships, balance between humans and the natural world, transformation through suffering, cultural importance. Sedna appears across Inuit regions under different names, which include Nevervik and Anukagask. Stories were passed orally and taught moral lessons about respect, survival, and interdependence. Okay, I like that. That was a very short and summarized version. Not too much, not too little. Got right to the point on that. There's really not too much else for me to speak about this particular topic. Let me see if there's something else that I think should be mentioned. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'll read another variation of the story. Give me 1 second. I see that I haven't mentioned because it's just it's all the same shit over and over. Let me see. Okay, so in this version, right? Sedna is kidnapped or deceived by. No, excuse me. In addition, an additional version of the story, Sedna marries a man who claims to be a fantastic hunter. He then takes her away to a distant island, and once there, he reveals himself to be a birdman. I've read this. Being a birdman, he was not a good hunter and could only hunt fish. Unable to escape the island, she resigned herself to her situation until her father came to visit one day. Her father decided to kill the birdman upon realizing he lied about who he was. Attempting to rescue his daughter, he left the island on her father. I mean, excuse me, they left the island on her father's kayak. When the Birdman's friend attacked them in retaliation, they flew above the kayak and created great waves to attack the kayak with. Sedna's father, who was frightened, he threw her overboard. She then grabbed onto the edge of the kayak, holding onto her life, fearing she would tip over the boat. Her father cut off her fingers, making her fall into the sea. The fingers were cut off and then became sea animals and sank to the ocean floor, where she became a spirit of the ocean. In one Baffin Island tradition, Sedna was in a kayak with her family. When a storm started, her parents thought she was to blame for the storm and threw her onto the sea. She clung to the kayak, but her father cut off her fingers. First the tips, then the second knuckle, then the last knuckle. Her disembodied fingers turned into sea creatures. Segna gained control over the animals. If humans angered her, she could stop the animals from coming to their hunting sites, thus causing famine. The varying legends each give different rationales for Sedna's death. Yet, each version, her father takes her to sea in a kayak, chopping off her fingers. In each version, she sinks to the bottom, worshipped by hunters who depend on her goodwill to supply food. She is generally considered a vengeful goddess, and hunters must placate and pray to her to release the sea animals from the ocean depths for their hunt. Uh, Killinique, at Killinique, people threw worn-out harpoon heads, broken knives, and morsels of meat and bone into the sea as an offering. Okay, so in that one, I kind of got the main idea. There was something I kept missing about this, and the point of the story is that her father killed her. Right? I don't know how that just kept going over my head, but that's fucked up. Like she gets killed and then still gets blamed for a bunch of bullshit. But I don't know if if you want to look at her as a martyr because of that, and in a way she kind of could be. But at the same time, I don't think she deserves any blame for anything at that point because clearly each variation of the story, she got played, she got fucked over. I thank all for stopping by. It's been a little while. I'll definitely be back this week with more Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I don't know what my topic's going to be. I'm going to try to get an interview with somebody that left the faith or even somebody that's still in the faith. I don't know yet. We'll see how. But thank y'all again for stopping by, and good night.